I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver, and this is Dirty Laundry.
And welcome back. Episode 2 of the new year, 2026.
Yeah.
We're still rocking it. Still here, still talking about divorce.
Still a little sick, both of us.
Still a little bit under the weather with our Phoebe voices. A little nasally.
I listened back to some of our older episodes and I could pinpoint when we were sick. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I remember that day.
Yeah.
She was barely, she
was
barely had it together.
surviving.
If you think we have it all together, we don't.
We never do, actually.
No, my mom was just here. Grandma just stepped in, took the kids to school.
Do I even have abroad? We don't know.
Who knows?
Who cares?
Who knows?
But we are here to talk about divorce because that's what we love so much to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Divorce and fault.
Yeah, I think this is a
Let's
really
talk about
big
fault.
misconception.
Yes.
So we wanted to kind of, pull back the curtain on what exactly a no-fault divorce means.
Right.
A little, both in Canada and the States. States obviously runs a little bit differently, but there is someone usually that makes the decision, or maybe that there is some accountability for the breakdown of a relationship. I'm a big believer that it takes two to tango. Of course, there are extenuating circumstances where one person really was blindsided, had no clue.
Right.
I'm talking like, a trucker who has like a double family, like another one that lives,
those things happen.
They really do.
There's different, levels of accountability and responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it definitely is a two-parter.
But
there are situations where it's like it's one person who has
if there's family violence, if there's anything
we're not
like
talking about family violence. I think that's a whole other.
I think we're not talking about family violence. I think we're not talking about I was going to say like addiction and sort of substance misuse and abuse.
That's a big one too.
It's tricky, but I don't think one person like drives the other to drink, as the old adage goes.
No. I was looking at more from the perspective of like if someone has an addiction, likely it's their fault that the marriage fell apart because of the addiction.
Because they're not taking care of
because the addiction has taken over and it becomes the third person in
it
their
really
relationship,
does.
right?
Yeah.
And the marriage sometimes can't withstand it.
I really like this line. Let's just pause for a moment and give this a little bit more time. There is a third person in the relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's so... I think it's so well put because obviously the person is not necessarily a human being.
Right.
If there is a literal, you're having
Sometimes
an affair and there is
person.
an actual third person. But this idea of the third person, quote unquote, where it is like there is something in the way of connection, of trust, of being on the same team. There is some kind of like blockade. So whether, again, that is mental health, it's abuse, but it's not always a person. But I think it's helpful to identify that because, again, we have a no-fault system, but people want to blame.
People want to blame. They want to understand. They want to know, why, how. Yes, I think there's always some type of third person.
Yeah, and I think
like not in the person sense. There's always a third being of sorts. Like it could be something that takes away the attention. It could be addiction. Yeah. Could be an actual person.
Could be work. If you work too much.
It could be gaming. It could be some type of hobby 100%. That like takes over your life.
Yeah.
Some type of fixation.
Yeah.
The mental health issue.
Absolutely.
It could be so many things. It could be the kids.
Yeah. For sure.
Right?
Great point.
Sometimes
Absolutely.
it's like you hear these, there's sometimes where people are so enmeshed in their children's lives and their identity as being a parent, whether it be mom or dad, that they forget about being
absolutely
a husband or wife.
Well, and like not even just that maybe the kids, like you also sometimes have special needs in your children. And so it does take an extra toll. Yep. But like, I mean, I slept with my kids. We co-slept until probably about maybe 6 or 8 months, to be honest. And that was mostly because I was lazy. Why would I get up if I don't have to? But you hear about, the kids have been in our bed for about 10 years now. Like that's really tricky.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate that? And how are you having these
conversations?
That's how I grew up.
We were always in my parents' bed.
This is so
the dog,
cute.
The parents, the siblings. It was like we didn't. It was a con. Yeah, always.
This is giving Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It was Willy Wonka.
The family bed.
100%. We always joke.
And I
100%.
do love that.
And we left it.
So I think it's really nice to kind of when we talk about no fault to still say, but there is a reason. There is a reason. There is causation as to why your relationship broke down. Now, what that is obviously differs, and everyone is sort of unique in their own way. So what does no fault really mean for us in the work that we do, in the clients that we support?
I think it's really hard for for clients to understand the no fault.
Agreed.
Because they so badly, especially I'm not talking about situations where like, okay, they've sort of grown apart and they've mutually agreed to end their relationship.
Those are lovely.
We're not talking about those like
those are
kumbaya divorces, okay?
Yeah.
Those kumbayas. We're talking about like where there was, infidelity or whatever.
Yeah.
So in those cases, and there's so much hurt and betrayal, so much. I get people who come and they have like pages and pages of screenshots and lists
so many screenshots.
And so many screenshots. And I have all the text messages and I'm like, and it's so hard to say that it doesn't matter.
None of this matters. I know.
All the messages that she was messaging her boyfriend.
And listen, it's gross. Some of the stuff we see is awful.
Awful. But they want so badly for me to like take their side.
Yeah.
And as a mediator, obviously I can't.
Sure.
But like, it's kind of heartbreaking
because they exceptionally heartbreaking.
They come prepared with wait till you hear my story. Wait till you hear what she did. Wait till you hear what he did. And then it's like, okay, but like
and
now I'm like, great. Like
I know.
Like,
I know.
That sucks. It's shitty that you went through that and I'm sorry, but like we gotta get to the business.
And I think
it doesn't matter.
Let's just pitch our services here for a minute or just mediation generally, because a lot of what we do is actually just validating how shitty this is.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry you're in this situation. Yeah. This is awful.
Yeah.
But
there's always a but.
And the reason
is so
hard. The but is massive.
It's so hard for them to
Nobody wants the but. And I just think it's really important while I'm pitching mediation is to know that like the court process doesn't often offer that kind of validation.
That's a good
and
point.
Emotional support.
I think people think that if they go to court, wait till the judge hears what they did.
Vindication.
Yeah, I'm going to have my day in court. Yes. I'm going to air it all out. Sorry.
Yeah, nobody cares.
They don't care.
Sadly, nobody cares.
Like, they don't.
Yeah, they can't. That's not the job.
It's not.
Their job is to look at the law. The law is no fault.
A mistress, and then you had, a side family, and you've got a baby with this one and that one, and like, you betrayed it.
Sorry. I know. It does not mean you get more money.
No.
In the settlement.
Or your kids more.
It does not mean you get more time with the children. No. It doesn't mean you get to keep the matrimonial home.
Does it make you look good?
Well, and another shameless post for mediation, which is court's public record. So if you did something down and dirty, maybe you want to keep it off the record.
Well, that's a good point.
Saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of not looking
really,
good.
Really good point. Yeah.
Your colleagues can, look up your court docs.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Your relationships. So I think people have to manage their expectations.
Yeah.
That if they've been through all the hurt and the betrayal, sometimes I feel like they just need like a venting session with me as their intake session. I'm like, okay, here is your opportunity. Tell me everything.
Give it all.
Give it all. Just lay it all out.
Yeah.
Let me hear it, because at least they feel like I've heard it.
Yeah.
I'm not assessing who's right and wrong. There's 10 ways that it could have happened.
Yeah.
But at least I've heard them out.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I've heard you out and I've heard him out, and you have both there's a lot of conflict here, and there's a lot of hurt and a lot of betrayal.
Yeah.
Now we need to figure out a way forward.
And it's interesting that you choose the words, I'm not assessing who's right and wrong.
Yes.
Because that's what people want.
So badly.
They want you to say, or you, whomever, to say, they were wrong, you're right. Yeah. You did nothing wrong. It was all on them.
You're not going to get that.
And we can't do that.
You're not going to get it from a judge.
Nope.
You're not going to get it from a mediator.
Yeah.
You're not going to really even, maybe from a lawyer, but a good lawyer will tell you who, like...
they'll be supportive and kind.
They'll be supportive, but they'll also tell you when you were wrong too, right? They're not going to just tell you what you want to hear.
Well, and also you're paying them so much money. Do you really want that from them? No. Look at the law and fight for me.
On what you hired them to do, right? Not just hold your hand and stroke your ego. So you're not really going to get it.
Nope. People want to blame.
Accept that. You have to accept that, okay, all the shitty things that happened are not going to affect my divorce.
Nope. Yeah, it's like there is the sort of morality that we can see where a lot of people have gone wrong and done things that are, somewhat egregious, but the law don't care.
And I think there's a reason for that. So why is it that there's no fault? Since 1985 in Canada, it's been no fault. And so I wonder, 1985, which is not that long ago.
Not that long.
I mean, to me, that was like yesterday.
It was like around our birthing years.
Yeah, it was like...
basically yesterday.
It was yesterday.
We're such young spring chickens.
Young. But, okay, so the question is why? Why did it go no fault?
Okay, what was the transition? Why did it switch?
Okay, so this is interesting.
Yeah.
So according to my research, let's see.
Aw.
Magic School Bus.
I'm obsessed with you.
The reason why it became no fault was because it actually kept women in unsafe marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting.
Is it?
I mean,
I would be curious to know also what laws changed in and around with that.
And it rewarded people who could prove bad behavior. So I think people spent so much time proving they cheated,
Evidence.
they did this, they did that wrong.
Well, we've talked about this. Remember, we interviewed the private investigator.
Well, that's it. And there's still a place for her.
Absolutely.
For her work, because people need closure. They want to know. And
you do want to know.
Also, you have those like rare instances where they have like infidelity clauses.
Oh, and like a marriage contract, prenup styles. Okay, so yeah, let's go there.
And that's where there's fault. If you have a contract saying...
Okay, different story.
Right? If you have a contract saying that if you cheat, I get $10 million.
Yes. You're going to pay a PI to get that evidence.
And then what's the criteria for cheating? And how do they prove it? And where does it stop and where does it end?
It's a lot. And yet I do encourage everyone to get a marriage contract.
But do you encourage them to put a fidelity clause in there?
Okay, fair point.
Would you?
I think that if a client came to me and was like, I am really concerned about, like, this is my number one concern, I'd be like, great, let's throw it in. Right? Like, if you are entering a relationship, listen, I'm not a marriage counselor, so like I'm going to try and park some of my opinions, but you know, it's unlikely to happen.
You do a lot of marriage counseling.
I do a lot of
people.
Exactly. So I do a lot of
pre-marriage
work.
Yeah.
I think that if you are entering a marriage, so there's a lot of misconceptions with the prenup, right? It's like, oh, our marriage is inevitably going to end, so I should protect my assets now. I don't believe that to be true. I think you can have a rock solid marriage or relationship pre-marriage, get a prenup, and it doesn't indicate any kind of, future divorce scenarios.
Okay.
But if you come to me and you say, I really want to include an infidelity clause because I'm fairly certain my partner's going to cheat on me.
Okay.
I'm going, red flags, red flags. Are you certain you want to marry this person?
What if it's not a partner issue? What if it's a you issue?
You mean I have an issue with infidelity?
No, just trust.
Okay. Say more.
So maybe it's not your partner specific, or you just have trust issues.
Yeah.
And so you want it in there for your own sake. It has nothing to do with your partner.
I mean, sure. If that alleviates some of the jealousy, like if that alleviates the concerns and allows you to be more present and more communicative and more open and honest in your marriage, why not? Why not? Listen, I would never do a marriage contract with just one person. So to be clear, the only time I'm working on them, it is a joint operation.
Right. They're both agreeable
They're
to
both
it.
talking
and it
about
goes
it.
both ways.
And some things are negotiation.
I don't know if I mind a fidelity clause.
I don't mind any clauses as long as they both agree. It's very much like on the flip side when we're separating. I don't really care what you do, what you put into your contract. Obviously,
I think the weight clauses are kind of gross.
Okay, fair.
I think that's gross. Like if you gain 10 pounds, you get...
No, I mean...
Like, come on.
I'm not going to lie. If a partner,
awful.
like if my
I would be like, I'm not marrying
fiance made me put that in, I'd be like, 100%.
10 pounds, no, come on.
I gained, I lost, I had children. Like,
you never know what life holds. I think that's
And as, I know you don't like to talk about the M word, but like as we approach that part of life, your metabolism changes, your body changes, you're physiologically different. Exactly.
A man might lose his hair, might... gain
also
weight.
Men gain weight, to be clear.
Yeah, well, it would go both ways,
so
too.
That's my next question.
I just think it's not.
Okay, but, and we've like really gone off on a tangent here, but is it a one-way weight gain clause?
Bad. Like only she gains weight? That's gross.
That's where I really draw the line.
No. Everything has to be reciprocal.
Reciprocal.
Everything.
Agreed.
Everything.
Agreed. Unless there is an imbalance of finances, right? So if you cheat on me, you get $10 million out of the marriage, but if I cheat, I just keep my own money? Like if you have like family, your money in a trust or whatever.
No, it's whoever cheats has to pay the other person $10 million.
Right. But my point is, what if the other partner doesn't have access to those pockets? So typically you're doing a prenup if there is a power imbalance or like an asset imbalance you want to protect or not. Like I guess both parties could obviously be of the same, socioeconomical class.
Right.
But my point is simply if the other person does not have the means to, if it's a shared pot.
Then they're taking $10 million less from the equalization.
Exactly.
Because of their cheating.
Right? Anyways. Okay.
I don't know.
Tangents be damned. For no fault divorces, if there is no marriage contract indicating that there is some sort of like monetary, payout,
which I think is very rare.
Very rare. Then there's really no fault. You can kind of do a lot. And it's really tricky. Like we have seen in our, various years of doing this, people who have gambled away the home and you had no idea. People that have like end up in rehab or they can't work or they lost their job and they've been faking it for like a year and now there's no money. Like there is a lot of shit out there.
Yeah.
And it's really important to have a lot of transparency in your relationship. If someone is able to sign documents with your name on it, there's a problem. Like if you don't have visibility on all your bank accounts, there's a problem.
And all that stuff, it's all going to come out.
Yeah. So like, again, I'm not going like, go look through people's phones and, be Nancy Drew.
But you should know.
You should know. And if you don't, to me, again, that's maybe a yellow flag. I mean like, I don't know what's happening over here. I need to go have a conversation with my partner.
And so the question is, where do you then get your validation? Because let's say someone is they've been so betrayed.
Yeah.
They've been so betrayed. Horrible things have been done to them. Where do they get that validation from? They're not going to get it from their mediator. They're not going to get it from their lawyer. They're not going to get it from the judge. They're not going to get it from the former partner. Where are they going to get it?
So as my brilliant therapist would say,
here we go. Yeah.
You really only need your own validation. Like you need to be your own cheerleader. So I think if it helps people individually, like we all want external validation. That's just part of our, physiology. We need to be in community. That's safety for us. So we need to coexist with others because on our own, isolated, we would die. So that's like evolutionary, biologically, it's in there. It's really hard to tell someone who has been horrifically betrayed and their life turned upside down that like,
it doesn't matter.
But you just look inward and find your own strength. Like it's tricky, but that's the truth, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's why it takes so long. And that's why we talk a lot about the grieving process in and around divorce. It's not that time fixes all your problems, but time affords you maybe some perspective, maybe time to do some work, time to look inward, time to reflect. Like that's what the time is giving you.
Yeah.
That's
years.
Have to do the
not
work. No,
we're not talking
so
about the
many
year of
years.
separation. That's years of inner work of like, healing. And,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think so many people will waste so much money on the emotional aspect.
Well, and this is kind of why I want to say it, not as like a lecture, but more as like a bit of a PSA of like, you ultimately will not feel better if that person is publicly shamed. Like that's not, maybe in the moment, sure, you're going to high five yourself and go, yeah, look at this fucking loser who ruined my life. But long term, you have to do the work to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And to come back from betrayal or financial ruin. Like these are major things we're talking about, and I'm not making light of it.
Yeah.
But you will never feel good if you're only looking for external validation. And the truth is, in this work, you're not going to get it. So like, let me save you the time and energy trying to search for it. And the money and the countless hours calling your lawyer to bitch about your ex. Don't go to therapy. Like go get some help that will actually support individual healing. Because the external stuff, unfortunately, is out of our control. And the more we try to control the people in our lives, the more fucked we are because we can't.
No.
Right? So you can only control your own actions. So we are absolutely compassionate to the fact that, yes, you need to be validated for your lived experience. And there is such power in saying to somebody, I am so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
And then you take the next step.
It's so hard to get them to that next step, though, when they're in that hurt, because now they have to across the room from the other person or across the Zoom room and make decisions about their kids together.
I know.
When they're burning inside. They're so angry. They're so hurt. It's so hard.
Yeah. And the kids that usually look exactly like the other parent, and you're sitting there going, okay.
You're just going to have to just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so time, again, don't rush into it. Like, if you're not ready, yes, there are certain things, obviously, that time may not be on your side. And there are, things that you need to do ASAP, whether you're emotionally ready for it or not.
And you might have one person what if you have the person who's caused the pain?
That's mostly common.
Right. Who's ready to move forward and has a new family or a new whatever, job opportunities or whatever, wants to move.
Yeah.
And you're not there yet.
And then they're pissed because the other person is dragging their feet and they're slowing down the process. And I'm like, no, they're grieving.
Yeah.
Give it time. Sorry.
Maybe a year separation is enough.
So a year separation. So
Maybe
that's
it's not enough.
That is.
I mean, it
that's
goes
the
by fast.
law in Canada.
That's a lot.
Is you have to be physically or whatever. Like you
Or
have to have a
like-
date of separation
Yeah.
before you can file for divorce. But that's more like filing for legal divorce. You can be separated forever. A year, a month.
Some
it
people
doesn't
are
matter.
separated and they never get divorced. We've
Exactly.
talked about that,
exactly.
right?
But yes, in Canada, you do have to be separated for a
At
year
least a
before you can get
year.
legally divorced.
Yes.
So those that are like trying to marry their affair partner, for example, you're going to have to wait at least a year.
You have to.
So sorry. You're going to have to wait.
But I think in certain states you can speed it up.
There are certain states. Yeah. State is, U.S. is state by state.
Yeah, you can speed it
Canada's
up within like a
federal.
couple months, I think. Not in Canada.
Yeah, maybe
You're
with like
waiting a year.
extenuating circumstances. I don't know. We're not
We have
lawyers and
Yeah, you can speed it up here, but very, very, very rarely. Like serious, like
Yeah.
violence.
threats
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
safety.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you think no fault protects people and gives them permission to leave because
Makes it too easy.
no, or it helps them leave, toxic marriages?
I was going to say, I think it's two sides to the coin. So, yes, does no fault mean that it is easier to cut and run as opposed to working on your relationship? I think that's a double-edged sword because then on the flip side is it gives people permission to leave without some kind of grandiose
But
blow
there's
up.
always answers. I feel like, okay, maybe you're not answering in court as to why, the marriage ended, but you're answering to your friends, you're answering to your
Of
family,
course.
you're answering to like everybody, even people at work.
Do you know
there's
what, though?
always an answer.
Okay, on your
Like-
intake form, hang on. Do
Yes.
you have a why?
Yeah.
Okay, and so
Yeah.
like 99% of the
Yeah.
people,
Say what?
irreconcilable differences.
They write that?
That's what they write. And then we start talking and I'm like, okay, so that was bullshit because here's reason A, B, C, and
There's
Z.
always reason.
There's always a
Always.
reason. And listen, there is sometimes the reason is just like, it's just not working. And that's cool. I respect that.
I think for the most part, there's reasons.
But I think they maybe just don't want to share them.
With us, they usually tell.
It
They
all
usually-
comes out.
It all comes out in mediation,
It
or at
all
least in
comes
the
out.
private sessions. Always.
Nobody just walks out of a happy marriage. There's always going to be some kind of rational, reasonable explanation to them.
Yeah, the fact, like I was reading something yesterday, like the fact that like a person would choose to parent on their own rather than stay with that person
That's how bad it must be.
means, right, if it's that bad,
Yeah.
it's bad. There's something there
Yeah. For you to give up usually 50%
of your
of
time,
your time with your children.
your financial
You're
security,
Definitely fucking your finances. Divorce is so expensive.
because it's just that bad living with them.
And that's why
What does that say?
but that's why I always believe people, whatever their reason, it's important to them because the alternative is so much more difficult.
Yeah.
You are not going to set yourself up for failure just like for shits and giggles. This is literally like my life living with this person is more difficult
Than living without.
than living without them, than being a single parent, than being on one income and trying to manage all those bills.
Yeah.
Like you are intentionally choosing the more difficult path, but the one that brings you more peace, more happiness.
Remains to be seen, I guess.
It does. It does. But exactly. Like you
Yeah.
don't, I think the no fault process or system gives people permission that maybe they didn't have before, right? The church is like, okay, we're doing this till death. Well, like,
Right.
okay, cool. We used to live to 35, right? It's like now you want to be with this person till 90?
Right.
It's a long time. People change or don't and should, right? Either way, I think it's a bit of an escape hatch that says, if this is not working, even though you said till death do us part, you're allowed to leave. Like circumstances change.
Okay. I honestly think though that the no fault happened not because of protecting people or giving them an out. I think it was
Are we
just
going to talk
because
about the patriarchy?
what?
Are we going to talk about patriarchy?
No.
Oh, I was like mostly men that are like cheating. So it's like,
No, I think it's
that's why they didn't want to blame the men.
resources. I just think it takes up too much time. It's like it's too much time. They don't the courts don't have the time to listen to who
Yeah.
did what.
And what's
They
the
need-
point?
Right? They don't have the time. They just need to get to the point of like,
Yeah.
okay, where are the kids going to live?
Yeah.
Who's making decisions? Where's the money
Yeah.
going? How's the property being divided? And move on.
It is already an exceptionally slow process.
So slow.
Why slow it down
So-
further?
yeah, I think it was
so
about
you
speeding
think
it
it's
up.
more about money?
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's about speeding it up. Resources, not
government
there's not enough
resources.
time. There's not enough time to
Interesting.
figure out who was at fault and who at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah, I like that.
That's my thought.
That's a good take.
Yeah, not patriarchal.
Oh,
just
you know my take is always one note.
to protect all the
Men.
all the men.
Just to let the men off the hook. Because if there's fault and you have to pay, if there's fault and you have blame, now you're shamed at the office. Now you're not climbing the corporate ladder. And I'm not saying women are not to blame. Please, men out there, we sometimes suck.
But what about in those countries that are more oppressive to women?
They definitely do not have a no-fault system, I don't think.
No, women. A woman looks. You look at the mailman. Adultery. Like to get out of a marriage, they accuse women of adultery.
Right.
And it's so easy.
Oh, because there's fault. So she cheated, I'm out.
Or she didn't, but they just say it.
She didn't. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It gives them an out.
Interesting. I like that take. Again, a man's POV. That's definitely patriarchy again. No, I think you're absolutely right.
I think that gives them an out. Yeah, they just scream adultery and they're in the marriage.
You know what is interesting? I'm trying to liken the family court to, let's say, the criminal court, because I think we're all a little bit
very
more
similar.
They are, and that's why I think it's an easy, and I think we're all very familiar with the criminal court because of TV,
like Law and Order.
Exactly.
Hello. Isn't everyone an expert because of Law and Order?
But interestingly enough, in the criminal court, again, not a lawyer, certainly not a criminal one, but you have to prove intent. No.
Oh.
You have to prove, like, what's the motive, right? There's like, oh my God, I wish I had remembered my Latin from freaking grade 11 law. But like, you need to have mens rea.
Oh, wait.
I know.
Wait. Legally Blonde.
Of course. Yeah. So you need to prove intent.
Okay.
So let's say you murder someone, right? That's why we have various degrees of murder.
Yes.
So manslaughter, whatever. Oops, I didn't know. I just happened upon, and then the opportunity struck,
right?
And I murdered.
Versus
premeditated.
Yes.
Premeditated is much more punitive.
Yes.
So in family court, we don't have any fault. We don't have the mens rea. We don't have like the intent as a hierarchy to punishment. It's just no fault, nothing. It didn't matter if you intended to sleep with somebody or you accidentally fell on their penis and here you are. Right? Like either way, there's no fault.
There's no fault. Okay.
But I think that if we look to historically how our legal system was set up, we want there to be fault. We want to be like, if you intended to murder someone and then did it, you should have an even bigger consequence than if you just oopsied and shot off a gun. So maybe...
How the hell do you prove that in family law? You intended to sleep with your
coworker?
Like
or you intended to gamble away the home?
No one... See, I don't think there's an intention.
I don't think so either.
You don't intend to become an alcoholic.
No, you intend to gamble a lot and win.
Right.
Like
you don't
everybody thinks they're
intend
gonna
to
be
lose your home.
victorious.
You don't intend to like get your neighbor pregnant or whatever happens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any intention there. I just think that's
so maybe that's why
decisions.
They can't do it. Maybe that's why we can't have any sort of fault.
No, you can't. I feel like you're going down a rabbit hole. Of there's always some type of faults, and I think you'll eat up all of the resources trying to figure that out.
So I don't really know what my point was in that comparison, but I do find it fascinating that
in criminal court, it depends on the intention, whereas family court, it doesn't matter what the intention is.
So if we think about marriage then more as a contract...
There's a coldness there, don't you
There
find?
is, because then I'm thinking, okay, well, let's look at contract law. You break the contract, here's the consequence. We don't have as clear and concise sort of contractual obligations because you say your vows, you sign your license, but without the prenup, there is no real contract. Your contract is, I promise to honor you and love you in sickness and in health,
and then you don't,
and in richer and poorer, and then you don't. But what comes next? So are we doing families and couples a disservice by not actually making them do a contract, by saying you promise to be faithful? If you don't, you get 60% of the house instead of 50. Like I don't know, and this is that we're absolutely this is a spontaneous.
The religious contracts talk about fidelity, right?
Yeah, but
but there's no consequence.
Exactly. That's my point.
That's the thing. There's so you have you get married in a church or a synagogue or whatever temple of some sort, and you sign a contract saying that you're going to be faithful under God and blah blah blah, and then you're not. And then what?
Yeah. And in fact, in Ontario, where I am licensed to officiate, it's not even the signing of the documents that makes it legal. It's the two of them saying their vows in front of witnesses and me saying, okay, I now solemnize your marriage. So the license is just like for bureaucratic government, census kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's not actually to make the marriage legal.
So what makes it legal is the two of them saying a verbal agreement.
Exactly.
Huh.
So that to me is also interesting because it's not contract even so much as with your license. This paper really is not what actually makes you legally married. So the whole thing is you're entering this contract of marriage, this business relationship, but you have no terms and conditions.
No.
So what are we actually doing here? I think we're doing couples a disservice by not really preparing them. And so again, I'm not keen for the church, but one thing I do love is premarital classes.
I think that's great.
I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah, I think premarital classes are great.
And I think these are the marching orders that the two of you and only you, we don't need to bring Jesus or Allah into the marriage, but we need to say the two of you are agreeing to these terms and conditions in your marital contract. And whether that's about finances or whether that's just the modus operandi of your marriage. We're going to talk. We're going to go to counseling. We're going to have this many children. We're going to raise them faith-based or not. We're going to put them in French immersion. We're going to nobody talks about any of that stuff.
Until after.
We're in love. We're happy. We're going to get married. Oopsies. We're pregnant. What just happened? We have no foundation of communication. In stress, typically because you're quite happy, you're living, then you're living together, but you have no real stress. You're at the early stages of your career, typically. Again, I'm talking early,
young first marriages.
Yeah. There's no handbook. There's no marching orders. Typically, you're modeling whatever your parents did. Okay, well, if 50% of the marriages are ending in divorce, what even is that kind of role modeling? I just think we set people up for failure. And then on the flip side, we're like, oh, cool, now you're heartbroken. Now make all these incredibly important, financial and decisions about your children. We ask so much of people in the worst moment of their lives, and we ask nothing of them in the best.
In the best. There's your problem. So what's the solution?
I think
should there be consequences then? Tell me what those consequences are, because it's all fine to say, okay, let's put all this in a contract and have these conversations, and this is what you're going to do in the marriage. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be responsible for the recycling, and you're going to be responsible for the green bin, and everything is laid out. But what if we don't do it?
Yeah.
Then what?
I think there has to be consequences.
The consequence? So what is that? Is it financial?
I think for those that it can be, sure. For those where your financial gain is not going to be much because there isn't much in the pot.
Yeah, so what are the consequences?
Then there has to be other ones.
Like what?
So, maybe it is less time with the children. Maybe if you've chosen to step out on your marriage and your family and spend time with another person instead of your partner and children,
you don't get
to then have them 50% of the time. You actually chose to spend less time with them and more time with somebody else.
Right.
And now I'm rewarding you with 50% and I'm losing.
That's what happens.
Right? That's what happened.
Yeah.
That's our no-fault system.
That's where it's set up. It's so you can step out of the family, find someone else while you're still married, spend all your time with that person, and then decide to get divorced and get the kids 50%.
Yeah.
Because there's no fault.
Yeah.
And the other person just has to deal with it.
Just deal with it. And I think those are the instances where, yes, listen, I don't think that infidelity is it just comes out of nowhere. Typically, there's something going on in the marriage, and it could be as heinous as the woman is pregnant and doesn't want to fuck, and so off you go to find a different V for your
many
P.
Reasons
but
why.
Whatever that is, it's not about fault, but it has to be about consequence. You have to have some accountability for your actions. You go to work, you get a job, you sign a contract. Here are our expectations.
Yeah.
Here's your compensation.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Very clear. I understand my job description. I understand my marching orders. I'm compensated at a rate I feel good about. If not, I'll negotiate.
You could be sued if you do something.
Exactly.
There's consequences.
So not in families whereby we are talking about money. We are talking about major assets, and there's nothing.
Do you think it would stop people from cheating, from gambling, from doing all these things if there were consequences? So
I do.
If you knew that, okay, if you have an affair, you're going to be losing a certain amount of money, or your time with your kids, time with your family.
Yep.
Do you think that would stop people?
I do. I think we live in a kind of penal society. So I actually do think that. But here's what I think it would do instead. I think that if I was about to step out on my husband and knew that I would lose time with my children if I got caught, let's say if I'm not devious, I might go, I'm going to get divorced first, and then I'm going to go fuck this guy.
See, I like that.
Right?
Get divorced first.
I'm not.
You can do whatever you want. You are a grown
YOLO
adult.
after you're divorced.
Do what you want, but get divorced first.
Exactly. So I think it would keep people maybe a bit more honest. Well, or they'd be extremely more devious because then they don't want to get caught. So again, two sides to every coin.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'd never have the answers here at Dirty Laundry, but we loves to talk about
things.
things.
The current system isn't really working for marriages.
It's not working.
Right? Like, I feel like there's just so much infidelity, so much divorce. And listen.
So much divorce.
Like, there's so much. So something's not working.
Yeah. Well, and so much so that marriage rates decline. But then we accounted for that with common law.
Right.
So there are slight differences when you're divorcing common law versus when you're divorcing legally married.
Yes.
But
the common law are having the same problems.
It's
Same
shit, different bottle.
I know. And I always find it funny when people are like, you know, we have kids together, but we don't know if we want to take that step and get married. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's the cart before the horse bullshit right there.
I'm like, marriage you can undo. Like
easy
that,
breeze.
Right?
Yeah.
But having kids together and co-parenting and all that
that's
stuff,
that's a
lifetime.
A lifetime.
That to me is just ignorant.
Agreed.
Like they think the commitment is the marriage, not the kids. Once you decide to have kids together, you're committed.
But also, what does that say about people's mentality that you are unsure about marrying this person? Like signing a legal document or saying vows.
Yes.
But you will share a human?
To me, it's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Yeah.
Bonkers. So I think there is a lack of information, serious lack in education about what relationships even entail, right? Like in the schoolyard, when kids are not, they're fighting, someone stole my toque or someone won't let me play with their, pickup ball. That's when we need to be teaching communication, conflict resolution, negotiation. Like that's where we need to hone those skills.
Teachers, but it starts in the house too.
It absolutely starts in the house, and that's a fair pushback because I do think we put a lot on teachers.
You're one teacher in a schoolyard of like you're responsible for 40 kids and they're fighting.
Oh my
it's
God.
like
when I found out that it was a 1-to-100 ratio on the schoolyard, I almost shit myself. I'm like sending my 5-year-old to school, and I'm like,
it's like
1-to-100.
I mean, I don't know what my ratios are. But
and listen, we're not going to, obviously, we're not changing the education system because if we're doing that, we're cutting out summer holidays for start.
It'd be nice to have more ratio.
But I just think this idea of what we consider soft skills are actually the hard ones, especially, and we're not going to get into this because that's a whole other kit and caboodle, but with AI and all of this stuff coming in, the soft skills are what's going to make us human, and that's relationships. And I think if people are a little bit more cognizant about what it takes to not only be married, but to raise children with or without someone. Like these are the things we need to be educating people on. And I think
we're not.
We're just not.
No.
We're just not.
Sink or swim. It's like you just throw in.
Yeah. And hope for the best. And then call us when you get the worst because it's inevitable if you're not taught.
Yeah. I know.
So listen, again, not changing the system, but loads of ideas.
Lots of ideas to think about.
Yeah. And
I think consequences are important.
I think so.
I think we live in a society where we don't have many.
Yeah.
People just don't take accountability for what they do. They just move on to the next.
And it's a constant reactive versus proactive setup.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll just deal with that when it comes, as opposed to how could we preempt this and set ourselves up for success? That's what I want to see.
Let us know your thoughts. This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver, produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.